because we all know that having kinky short hair is seen as like, no, you're first off, you're infantilized. I think people somehow associate short kinky hair with childhood. When I had my hair and it was short and it was kinky and it was out, I felt like my confidence was obviously different. Like I just didn't have the same confidence than when I had a weave that was straight or when I had protective styles.
Sometimes it don't make no sense. Does it really have to? There is nothing I can say.
Hi, welcome to Mayowa's world. Hi everyone, my name is Mayowa. Today's topic is going to be related around hair. I'm thinking about making a video because I'm coming up to my 5-year anniversary of Freeform locks. So if you guys are interested in me making a video like this or talking about where I'm at, I guess, let me know. Today I feel a bit tired. I don't know, I think I'm sleeping poorly like recently. And I keep waking up, like every time I'm waking up, I have like scars on my knuckle. Yeah, I'm having like scars on my knuckles. And so my mom's like, are you fighting someone in your sleep? I don't know, but I'm not sleeping so well. But today's topic, I want it to be fun. And also another thing that's like happening today, I'm going to get henna and I'm like really, really excited because I haven't had henna done since I was in Nigeria. And I found this dark skin girl in Atlanta and she does henna and I'm really excited to have that. I'll see if I get my henna done before I edit this, I'll like show images. I have been more on Twitter, more on social media the past couple months. I'm trying to keep up momentum and give consistent content. So something that's always helpful for me is like if I say something on Twitter, I like when people engage with it and it sometimes helps me inspire my YouTube videos and like what I want to talk about into length. So today's video is also inspired by a tweet that I said and I'm going to read it to you. We need to be honest with how the world treats Black people with different styles of hair. When I had straight hair, I was perceived with the least amount of pushback and the most praise. And then I continued to say, here are the rankings. At the top is straight long hair. That was when I was treated the best. Moderate protective styles, i.e. box braids and twists. And then at the lowest is when you wear your natural hair and it's kinky and short. And beneath that is when I had freeform locks and they were shorter and people didn't know where to place it. There's a hierarchy of how we get treated with our hairstyles as Black people. So today's topic, we're talking about the hierarchies of hair, but that's also known as texturism. But I don't know, it's always interesting what phrasing people like more and like maybe texturism, people don't really understand what it means. But I think when you talk about, oh my God, am I wiping my makeup off? No. I think when I talk about hierarchy of hair, maybe that like communicates to people. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Mayowa. I have been making YouTube videos for like 5 years now. I have had like every hairstyle in the book. Even my path to having freeform locks was really a unique one. I've had straight hair, I've had protective styles, I've had my hair just like loose. When I call loose, I mean just out in its natural state. And I've had freeform locks. So I've really experimented and gone through a lot of different phases and stuff like that. So I'm very perceptive with how I was treated along the stages. And that's what I want to talk about today. This concept of being treated differently by how you're perceived isn't a unique one. There's a word called intersectionality, which like means that there are levels to how things happen. If you are a Black person, your experience is going to be different. The darker you are, the harder it is. If you're dark and fat, if you're a fat person versus me, I'm skinny and I'm able-bodied. So people who are fat and disabled are going to have a harder time. And so the same thing also goes with how our hair is perceived. If your hair is closer to Eurocentric standards of beauty, it's going to be more desired and acceptable in society than when you have like kinky hair that is like short. But with that being said, I also just want to put that out there that as a Black people, you are susceptible to harm if you have straight hair or if you have box braids or if you have kinky locks. Like we talk about privilege, I'm not saying that you haven't experienced harm, but we can also acknowledge that different hair gets treated differently. So today I want to talk about, like how people perceive you with each hairstyle. Video is supposed to be fun. I'm going to be putting up pictures of myself and talking to you about my perspective and how I felt in each stage. Feel free to let me know what your perspective is. But like I said, this is just me talking from my own experiences. So first, at the top of the food chain of the most desired, acceptable, yeah, like respectable hair to have is pretty much straight hair. There's gonna be like I'm sure there's a whole discourse around straight hair that's your natural hair, straight hair that's a lace front, straight hair that's a wig, straight hair that's a weave, but I'm clumping them all together as the straights. Because of society, a lot of black people have had to perm their hair and straighten their hair for jobs at the workforce. So when you have straight hairs, I've had straight hair. I don't know if you guys knew this, but in my early to mid 20s, I was modeling. So I at that time had straight hair. That was pretty much the only kind of hairstyle that was acceptable. And with having straight hair, I just noticed I was met with the least amount of pushback. But with that being said, here's how I'm going to make this discourse interesting, because I'm going to talk about the kind of guys that approach you, the kind of people that approach you. Because when I had straight hair, I realized that I have freeform locks, and a lot of people that approach me, if you approach me, you're pretty much approaching me because you're seeing some part of really who I am. Like, you're not typically trying to change me, because the way I look comes off to people as a kind of it's a specific thing. So if you're approaching me, you pretty much know you like me because of the way I'm putting myself together. But with people who have weaves or straight hair, straight hair, a lot of guys that approach you, it's like, I feel like it's a mixed bag. Like, it's literally like every kind of person, and you don't really know their intentions. When I had straight hair, I had a boyfriend at the time, and he would talk about how much he liked the natural hair girlies, like, so much. But baby, why is you laying up with me? I never understood that. Like, I had so many people that would be like, oh, I like natural hair girls, but then they would literally try and talk to me when I had straight hair. So I thought that was really interesting. And I realized that, like, the kind of girls they like with natural hair is the girls who have the loose curls. That's the natural hair that they usually like. So I feel like when you have straight hair, you're more inclined to kind of meet a mixed bag of people, who some people only like you when you have straight hair, which is, I don't know about y'all, but to me, that's problematic. Like, if you're with a black person and they are only wanting you even any person, and they only want you when your hair is straight, unpack that, because that's not your natural hair texture. And then there are people who they like to go for girls who have straight hair, and then they want to change you. Like, they want to try and change you or make you feel less than. And then you also have to deal with people's expectations that maybe you are not as in tune with your blackness, you are not as in tune with yourself. I also wanted to talk about how different hairstyles is perceived in the gay community, because when I was starting to go out into more lesbian scenes and queer scenes and stuff, I realized that when people said they liked femmes, what they meant was a lot of times was women who had weaves, because locks are always masculinized. People always say, oh, I can't wait to have a girl. I'm looking for a stud with locks. People always, you know how girls always say, oh, I'm looking for a dark skinned man. I feel like locks is also kind of in that category. So people were automatically not seeing me as femme because I had locks. People would be like, oh, are you STEM or are you more mask presenting? And I'm like, baby, where are you getting that? Your girl is giving femme. I was really surprised that even within black queer scenes, the weaves and the lashes and the long nails was still the prioritized aesthetic within feminist. And obviously in more alternative scenes, you're gonna have people who move away from that. When I had straight hair, I would have a lot of girls also approach me, more masculine presenting girls. But then when I started freeforming and I had short freeform locks, yeah, the trenches. That was bad. And I understand why people wear straight hair, especially if you have more intersections, because survival, it's probably it's the hairstyle with the least amount of resistance, the most acceptance. I get it. So that was my experience with straight hair. Let me know y'all's. Second on that hierarchy, I would say, is protective styles, box braids, just all the fun little styles that we can do as Black people, all the intricate braiding styles, the twists, everything. And I feel like when I had that hairstyle, for me, I used to change my hair so much in protective styles. And I think I was doing it because I would notice how certain styles people would like certain styles more. And for me, something that one of the reasons that pushed me to have freeform locks was because I felt tired of chasing I felt tired of chasing which hairstyle is like the hairstyle, and protective styles, it's acceptable. You will still get pushback. I think when you have protective styles, people associate you with being a more natural kind of person, you know, especially if you do them consistently. So you might get people who, you know, like you for you, but the third on the ranking, which is like at the lowest end, obviously is when you have your hair out in its natural state and it's kinky. I am only talking to people who have kinky hair because I had some girls in my comments who were biracial and they had loose hair and they're like, well, when I wear my natural hair, everyone likes me. I'm sure about it, babes, because you have a desirable hair texture. Like you haven't felt the fear or the discomfort with having to learn to love your hair, or people haven't told you that your hair is looking like dirt, or like relating your hair to something that's incredibly offensive. So the path of learning to love your hair, and like if you have box braids and you take out your hair and your hair is kinky and short, there's definitely a different feeling you have, because we all know that having kinky short hair is seen as like, no, you're first off, you're infantilized. I think people somehow associate short kinky hair with childhood. Like, I remember people being like, oh, that's the hairstyle I used to have when I was a kid, or like, oh, I can't wear that to a wedding because that's like, I look too young. If old people have kinky short hair, so where I understand where it's coming from, like, why are we having this indoctrination that makes us feel like our natural kinky hair is like a kid? And it's because as kids, most of us was wearing our natural hair out. And then when we probably hit like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, the teenage years, we're perming it, we're straightening it, we're trying to fit more of a desirability. So having, you know, to have your hair out, it's short and it's kinky, you are a warrior. In my opinion, it's not easy. And yeah, so you're infantilized. You also can be degendered, ungendered, masculinized, where people somehow associate you with being more masculine because your hair is out. Also, too, the way that femininity in like from a Eurocentric standpoint works, the longer your hair is, the more feminine. So the shorter your hair is, the more masculine. So when we see people who have short hair and it's kinky, people either want them to shave it all together or cover it up. I've heard so many people talk about how their parents were like, you need to do something with your hair, you need to fix your hair. That's typically going to be told to people whose hair isn't done. And there are a lot of people who would prefer a protective style over someone who has kinky short hair that's out. I have had, you know, and something for myself, like adding me into the equation. When I had my hair and it was short and it was kinky and it was out, I felt like my confidence was obviously different. Like I just didn't have the same confidence than when I had a weave that was straight or when I had protective styles. I struggled to figure out ways to style my hair in its short, kinky state. I felt like it was always giving me anxiety to try to think of the next style. I've had to unpack a lot of stuff, obviously. I think with having freeform locks, you literally have to unpack all of it. But that was something that I went through with having my hair out in its natural state. Locks, in my opinion, is somewhere, it depends on your hair texture. It depends on how you do your locks. Locks could either be above natural hair or it could be beneath it, right? Because sometimes people who have locks, it is so manicured. You can see all the scalp. You can see you can see everything. Is that a bug on my wall? No. Sorry. You can see everything on the hair. This kind of really manicured, high maintenance, I get a retwist every 6 weeks on the dot. They are going to get, like, people see their hair, like, people see their hair as, you know what I'm saying? You're giving correct. You're giving, like, it's looking professional. I mean, okay, obviously it's changed, you know, maybe 10 years ago, those locks were still not seen as professional. But right now, I feel like there is a renaissance of people who have really manicured locks and it being seen as like a bit of a professional, put together kind of thing. But people are still really against getting locks. They feel like it's very permanent. There's still going to be a lot of anti-blackness that happens within that. When you have locks, the way that people will hit you with that, hey, my empress, my queen, empressy, queen of the not Nubia, black Nubia, is too much. I thought that was like the biggest thing I thought was really funny. And I feel like it's because people associate locks immediately with spirituality, with depth, and with loving your blackness. And they really forget that within the lock community, there's still anti-blackness. Yes, they've done one element of work, but there's still so many elements to go. You can have locks and be very colorist. And I've seen people who have locks and they make jokes about how people need to get retwists. And there's a lot of stuff that people insinuate when you have straight hair. But then when you have locks, it's like people somehow, sometimes I feel like people can like also not sexualize you at all. Like they see you as just like one with nature. You wake up vegan, eating grass and moss drinks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be vegan, so I might try to like, but it's like people always want to ask me if I eat meat. People always want to ask me if I eat meat, if I do, or if I don't eat meat, and if I do yoga. Like, no, girl, I eat meat and I'm stiff. Like, I'm not doing it. But I think that there's an impression that when you have these styles, you're more like, it's kind of giving like the yoga teacher a little bit. And that's annoying because that like also brings a specific kind of person that maybe you are into, like. But then freeform locks or semi-freeform locks, when your hair is kinky, you are God's strongest fighter, in my opinion, because it is not for the weak of heart. The comments are unreal. And especially, I always say this in every video, especially when your hair is short. If you have kinky, freeform, kinky semi-freeform locks and it is short, oh my God. Because for me, so with my journey of having my confidence, when I had my hair, my kinky short hair, and it was loose and it was out, I felt the need to always have to manipulate it. Like nothing scared me more than showing my hair in its natural state. And I just like, even when I look at photos, I think I only have like a couple photos of me showing it because I felt so embarrassed about it. And it's funny because one of my viral videos was from a tweet where I showed a picture of my hair when it was in its natural state, and people were coming for my neck. So we've been like, yo, your hair, what is this? So like, I never showed my hair in my natural state. So me freeforming was an acceptance of me learning to be confident with my hair in its natural state. And when your hair freeforms, like it actually shrinks even more. So it gets even shorter. I mean, locks in general, when you get locks, your hair shrinks. So when you're freeforming and you have loose, it gets even shorter. And I feel like when you have short hair, like especially short locks, there's this kind of idea or like rhetoric or whatever that you're supposed to hide it until it gets to a certain length that you can show it. They call it the ugly stage, which I always really hated that, because I always say this, I think the short stages of locks is actually the most beautiful. Freeform locks is actually the most, well, locks in general, but especially freeform locks. And so yeah, like it shrunk a lot, and people were like always telling me, you need to get your hair done. Like, I think people think that you're not braiding your hair. You're not keeping your hair up. Like they immediately think because they can't place it as locks yet. Cause I feel like your hair doesn't really start to look like locks until it's probably a little bit longer that people can recognize it as locks. And people aren't used to seeing freeform locks in a short stage that they don't really know where to place it. So when it's not like that, people used to be like, oh my God, people used to be like, you need to get your hair done. Like, what is your hair doing? Like, are you gonna lock it? And I'm like, my hair is locked. And they're like, I don't see the locks. So it's that like weird tension. Now that my hair is longer with locks, people compliment me more, or they like it more. And I also think too, your confidence shifts a bit, you feel a little bit more secure. But with having freeform locks, there is such a, I feel like people are looking for any excuse and reason to call it dirty, or to say, like, I remember I met this black lady and I actually feel like she was being shady because she was like, oh, do you wash your hair with berries? Why would I wash my hair? And I was like, no, I use water. But like, I think she even said berries and sticks. Like she said something, but she said it in such a, I don't know. But then now when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that was actually like, what kind of question is that? So people don't really know how, like when people come up to me with my law, the question that pretty much always follows is like, how do you wash it? And I don't really understand how people can ask me, how do I wash my hair? Because it's like, I wash my hair the same way you wash your hair. What do you think I'm doing? What do you think? I'm rolling in mud? So I feel like there's this impression that when you have freeform locks, like you have to prove that your hair is clean. You have to prove that you have, like, you know what I mean? And other hairstyles don't really have to do that. Like I remember, I have friends who have had protective styles in their head for like 6 months and they have not washed their head. I'm not saying that's good, but it's like your people are less likely to call you out on that when you have your hair not locked than when you have it locked and people think that it's just like an impression that it's like dirty. So yeah, if you fall anywhere along that line, like let me know your experiences. Thanks for watching. Bye.